Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, welcome back to a brand new video here today with some exclusive F1 2019 gameplay. Yep, so earlier this week I got invited to Codemasters HQ to record this gameplay, so huge shout out to everyone involved at Cody's for making that happen and having me for the day to record this gameplay. I got about an hour to record, so it wasn't a lot of time, very super limited. So we don't have a ton of gameplay, but there's enough where you'll see two videos today, this one and one later today, and one hopefully tomorrow morning as well. So do get subscribed if you are new around here for more F1 2019 gameplay, but today we're going to be looking at the Ferrari around the Monaco Grand Prix, because I'm sure that's something maybe some people will be interested in, and Monaco this year has actually been remodeled somewhat, especially the outer side of the track, way off track. You know, the outer side bits have all been remodeled, and it looks really, really awesome this year, so you'll hopefully be able to see that and pick that detail up as we go on through the cutscenes here. But just a caveat, asterisk as well for this gameplay, it was recorded, they had a play seat and a Fanatec wheel setup, pretty much the same setup they have for the F1 esports, and just for me personally, that's not my personal best way to record F1 and race F1. I much prefer being sat up in a normal desk chair, and I'm not really used to a Fanatec wheel with the Fanatec pedals, which are very, very stiff compared to my Thrustmaster one. So just an asterisk there. All the gameplay you're seeing isn't going to be like the best gameplay ever, or the fastest gameplay out there, or just my usual kind of speed of driving, really, because I wasn't really used to the entire setup in the way I was sat in the chair. But nonetheless, it's gameplay. It shows off how the game is looking. But here we're here for the Monaco GP in the Ferrari car. But going through and flicking through the menus right here, just to show you guys off the menus, because obviously no one's really seen the menus yet in any of the gameplays on YouTube yet. No one's really shown off the menu. So obviously they got the new tiling system, which I've mentioned I really like and prefer to the kind of scroll wheel. Makes it a bit more kind of, I don't know, just easier to navigate, really, and that's what they've gone for. It's going to be easier to navigate. The game mode that you play the most will show up the first time on the first screen there. So if you play a lot of multiplayer, that will show up first. If you play a lot of career mode, that will show up first. And then going through the cars then, looking pretty jazzy actually, with the reflections and the geometric kind of bubbling shapes below, behind, changing color as you go through the teams. Obviously you will see that a lot of these cars are still the 2019 spec cars, which is the car that Ross Brawn and Pat Simmons made in conjunction with Codemasters, with the 2019 liveries draped on top of them. There are a few cars, a la kind of the Renault, the Racing Point car, and the Toro Rosso, I believe. I think that's all three of them that have actually got the 2019 actual models in, but the rest of the cars are still being made currently as we speak. So at the moment in game in this build, it's the 2019 spec car that's being used in their place. But yeah, we're going to go to the Monaco Grand Prix. We're going to play the intro cutscene and pay close attention to the little finer details of the track, not the actual on track, but the outside bits of the track. You'll notice it's been improved quite a fair bit since 2018.
The Monaco Grand Prix is upon us, and we're heading into the weekend with the first of the practice sessions. It's certainly not the easiest of tracks to navigate, so today is going to be incredibly valuable to the teams. Lowe's hairpin is the slowest corner of any track on the Formula One calendar. It's taken at just 48 kilometers an hour, but provides a stunning view on the first lap as the entire grid bunches up and tiptoes through the corner, hoping not to leave any carbon fibre parts behind.
This is such a tight bend that a special steering rack is used just to get around this very corner, as the cars would not normally be able to make the turn. There is the possibility of overtaking through Lowe's, but more often than not, you'll end up damaging your car.
So hopefully you would have noticed a bit more detailed Monaco Grand Prix, especially in the opening panning shots of the cutscene, where you could see the kind of tops of rooftops, and also the harbour has all just been, you know, detailed a lot more. And you'll see later on at the race cutscene, there are even some more panning shots where they've got like the casino square has been modelled a lot better and has just got more detail in it. Basically, it gives it a bit more of a better ambience feel, and Monaco just feels a bit more busy, I think, and a little bit less kind of, I don't know how to really explain it, barren in a way, because a lot of it was kind of not modelled as detailed as they could have done on the previous game. So they've really gone a whole house to make everything feel a lot better. And then here we go then, the actual gameplay itself. The first time I could drive this game. This is literally my first laps ever on the game here in this entire setup and my time at the HQ around the Monaco GP in this practice session, driving as Charles Leclerc. You can notice it is the 2019 spec car. The Ferrari is one of the cars that they're still building from this build, so it is the 2019 spec car with the Ferrari livery, but still looking pretty damn nice, and just going around and getting used to everything here. In terms of the handling, the feel, it was very hard for me to tell. It was very hard for me to tell, in all honesty, because of the whole difference in setup to what I'm used to at home, so I can't at this point really give an honest opinion about what the base handling was really feeling like and how different it was to 2019 and in what way. But the things that you notice are things like the locking up and the braking is a lot different. The way they actually show it off as well is very different. You can see the tire sheen is a lot more. They've got that kind of new shiny Pirelli look that Pirelli have got this year with the way they make their compounds in 2019, but then also the way the graining shows up on the actual tire. And I felt like when you locked up, you could really feel it a bit more on the force feedback, and it went for a little bit longer. So I think lockups, from at least what I've played, I think lockups will play a bit of a bigger part when you do have them compared to 2018, where you could really quite easily control them, in fact. But we're going to move on then to the race cutscenes and into a little 5-lap race.
We're here to kick off today's race at the infamous Circuit de Monaco. Drivers will need to be on their top form if they want to take home the win today. The prestigious Circuit de Monaco then. It's not all that dissimilar today to the layout that made its debut almost a century ago. It's 2 miles and 19 corners through the streets of Monte Carlo, and although the average lap speed of around 93 miles per hour is the lowest of the season, the tiny margins for error make it the natural habitat of the safety car. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. A fantastic effort from Pierre Gasly yesterday puts him on pole, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Vettel, Charles Leclerc and Hamilton, Magnussen, Stroll, Sainz and Roman Grosjean, Norris, Ricciardo, Nico Hülkenberg and Perez, Raikkonen, Albon, Robert Kubica and Antonio Giovinazzi. Kvyat and George Russell ends our grid lineup. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So I'm just going to track back here and pause it at the grid sequence. You would have noticed here that the animations, or the pictures rather, are a little bit different compared to last year. Last year it was kind of a face-on, kind of very 2D-like picture of all the drivers. Now it's a bit more 3D-like. And you'll notice actually they've used the in-game models properly. Like last year, I think it was like kind of icons they basically made up, essentially. Whereas now it looks like almost they've taken a shot of the actual 3D modeled drivers that they have and use in the cutscenes, and they've done that for a very good reason, because in career mode, when your player and the 2 rivals that you have in the F2 part of the career mode go up into F1, or just in F2 as well, and they go up through the cutscenes in the race time, you and your 2 rivals obviously will have to be in the grid sequence, and so it's a much better way of actually having them in there, because they don't look so out of place. Like last year, it always looked a little bit out of place when your characters showed up, because they just looked a little bit different compared to the actual driver models. But now everyone's going to kind of look very, very similar with the kind of new kind of angled actual 3D model shot of them in the grid sequence. But we're going to just dive straight into this race then. Of course, like I said, I only had 1 hour to record, so I had to stick to very short and sweet races. 5 laps here at the Monaco GP as we go to 5 red lights. You'll notice on the right hand side there, they've got the new heads-up display, and actually everything, all the heads-up display has been updated with the actual official Formula 1 font, which makes it just look so much better, a lot more proper, and kind of just a bit more Formula 1 feel like to have that F1 font going around. And like I said, you know, it's the first year that Codemasters have actually directly worked with F1 with this spec car, and it kind of shows in kind of many other ways around the game the influence of working with F1 a bit more directly and having more integration with the actual F1 in terms of the heads-up display looking a little bit more professional and kind of like almost like real life. Obviously, it's not the exact copycat of the real life heads-up display, but it's got that feel and vibe because of the font. And you'll see, actually, you'll notice there on the top right with that caution symbol, they've also actually started to use the real life caution symbols in the actual way that they usually show you know, incidents happening on the top of the screen with the actual proper logos and whatnot. But here you can see the AI of Magnussen dive bombs me to Helen back there as we exit the tunnel. So the AI were very aggressive, actually. I noticed that in the short time I got to play there. And speaking to Lee Madder at the same time, he did mention that the AI are definitely very aggressive in this build, and they're still going to tweak it a little bit. But I actually mentioned that it was still a very good thing actually to see, you know, the AI being that aggressive. And you'll notice in other gameplays we've got, the AI also track you a lot better in terms of when they're trying to follow you and attack you. And also when they're defending against you, they'll be a lot better in terms of they won't move out of the way like they have done in 2018, which is a big foible of mine, is a lot of the time they did kind of give you too much room, and they would kind of dive out the way sometimes if you were able to place your car correctly in that kind of manner. So they will now put up a bit more of a fight in that regard. But you can see as we go on through this gameplay, like I said, it's very, very clear that I'm just not that quick compared to the AI right now, because I really was not used to the Fanatec setup in the place here. I just don't gel well with it, so I was just pretty much trying to get through this race and see what we could do in terms of how well the AI would stick with me. And you can see a bit of a train is forming behind me, so they were sticking with me and putting on the pressure. Eventually did get a bit more comfy, and I got away from that train you can see on the minimap there by the time I got to lap 4. So things did get a little bit better for me in terms of going around the circuit, but still not ideal. But it just gives you a chance to look around the lap really and just look at the kind of detail in the game. And again, you can see with the fast lap of the Grand Prix there for Hamilton, the purple icon came up with the fast lap of the GP previously with the caution symbol, the same symbol they use in actual real life. So just those finer touches making everything look a little bit better. And again, as we come in the tunnel, again being dive bomb in the same place here, double lock up for me, but a bit of contact made and a bit of damage for the Rich Energy Haskar there, and the race winner Pierre Gasly. Romain Grosjean out of the session again. You can see that orange symbol there, and then Carlos Sainz is right up my chuff. Raikkonen out of the session as well. I think he got caught up with Grosjean there, but Grosjean able to catch me quite fast, I think, because I was on lower ERS modes. And speaking to Lee Mather, he mentioned that this year the ERS modes actually will make a bit of a difference, a bigger difference in 2018, just for the fact that actually, if you think about it, without the kind of front aero, actually the drag value is a little bit different in the game and the cars, and so the drag and the kind of speed of the car is affected even more by the ERS mode you're in. So ERS is, it seemed like to me, a bit more extreme affecting than it was even last year. So that's going to be a big thing that you guys are going to have to kind of pay attention to this year if you don't do auto ERS, is you're going to have to really make sure you're dialing in and making sure you're concentrating on those ERS modes you're using.
They were able to set themselves apart today.
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection, a shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So again, going through these shots, like we saw with the Bahrain gameplay, you can really notice the lighting differences with the game, just in these cutscenes especially. And also as we went around the Monaco track, I felt the track was lit a little bit more realistically and just a bit more natural lighting compared to 2018 when we were going around in that race. But you can see here the improvements made to the models as well, just a lot better, like especially the facial features, the actual smiles and whatnot, a lot better. In talking whilst I was recording the gameplay, Cody's mentioned that obviously because you're going to have your driver face and a lot of cutscenes with your driver and the F2 rivals in the cutscenes for career mode, they had to make sure they stepped up the graphical fidelity in all the models really that you're going to see in cutscenes ready with the driver faces. So you'll notice, you know, they're all a lot better, and the animations are also a lot better in terms of the way they smile and whatnot, and just the way they move their mouths about basically in the cutscenes, which was always sometimes a little bit iffy see here and there in 2018, I must admit. But we go through here just looking at the kind of replay cameras, and you'll notice if you look through at Casino Square, that detailing they've got now on that kind of fountain area, the roundabout area, and just generally around the place of Monaco, just looking a little bit better than it did in 2018 with the way the light bounces around the circuit and everything like that. Much improvements made. Obviously, the improvements are better shown at tracks like Bahrain, and there will be a Bahrain GP gameplay later on today, so do get subscribed for that. But you can still notice if you look close enough here at these more natural lit circuits compared to the floodlight circuits of Bahrain and whatnot. But guys, if you did enjoy this gameplay video and found it somewhat informative and useful for you guys to get a better feel of F1 2019, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below of the gameplay. Like I said, be an asterisk, it's not really a final representation of what the gameplay will look like, and it wasn't the best feel for it because I was very limited for time with the 1 hour, and also the equipment and the scenario I was using in wasn't the ideal scenario for how I would race F1 at home, but it's better than nothing, to be honest. So guys, if you're new around here, do get subscribed for more F1 2019 gameplay. Like I said, more will be coming. There'll be another video today and one hopefully tomorrow as well, so do get subscribed for that. But I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.